Yeah, these partnerships and collaborations aren't necessarily meant to, okay, if I'm $1 million brand, I did this one collaboration with this influencer or with this brand, and therefore I became a $2 million brand.
It can and does happen, but it's not going to be the thing that keeps you there.
For sure. Yep, exactly.
So it might get you to the next step. So the best brands know, like, hey, we're going to launch these things in this sequential order.
Yeah.
So they always have one cooking. It's not done out of desperation.
Totally. That's the key right there, is there's always something cooking. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Unstoppable Marketer Podcast. With me, as always, my co-host, Mark Goldhart. Mark Halvard Goldhart, how are you?
Doing great. Thank you. How are you?
Sorry to drop your middle name. It's a good middle name.
As long as it's not the social number.
Well, let's get started.
You don't want to share your social security number?
Yeah. It's been a minute.
Has it been a minute?
Yeah, we missed another week, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It's busy times.
Yeah.
This is the busiest time of the year for us. So.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we did a free consulting call yesterday.
Yeah, that was great.
Which was great.
Yeah.
Kind of showed some, probably a situation that a lot of people find themselves in.
Yeah. Where
this particular company is needing to hit a certain benchmark within a certain time frame. And the question basically was,
as expected.
It's not going as expected.
Yep.
But the question was, what do I do?
Well, more specifically is if this was you, what would you do?
Yeah.
Right.
So that was fun. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit.
I actually think that part of when we go into marketing stems from that conversation. One of the main ideas. So
okay.
We'll come back to it.
Good.
We'll come back to it. But couple things I want to just briefly mention. This is something that we haven't talked about, but I heard about it this morning. I have not done a ton of research into it, but I think it's a hilarious story.
What, Lana Del Rey?
No.
That is a good one. The Gator Guide?
The Gator Guide. That is a good one. No, I'm saying Crumble Cookie.
Okay.
So Crumble Cookie announces that they're opening up a pop-up location in Sydney, Australia, and people go bananas for it. They started here in Utah, I believe. First location ever in Logan, if I don't recall.
Yeah, they're out of Logan. Logan, Utah.
They've been kind of like, they were the bee's knees, if I may say, 8 or 9 years ago when they first kicked off. Like, it was the coolest thing. They're on a high. People start doing very similar things to what they're doing. So they're on a high. People's competitors start coming in, which they do, and then it's not that they go downhill by any means, but you kind of hear word on the street that Crumble Cookie franchises aren't doing as good. And that's when the whole Cookie Wars thing started. Was it 2 years ago, I believe?
Well, the trademarks or the
Crumble
copyright and I don't know what it was.
Now, this is something that I do not know. There's speculation to this, but one of the things that I heard was like the Crumble Cookie founding team said, hey, like, this isn't just impacting our business, it's impacting all of our franchisees. Franchisees? Is that how I say that in the plural form? And they...
Franchises?
Yeah.
French fries, yeah.
French friesies. And so what they did is like, we have more money than these people, let's put some legal action to protect our franchises. And there's a few things that these people are potentially violating. Let's see if we
competitors.
Competitors. Let's see if we can put them out of business, essentially. That's one take I've read on it. Now there's probably 1,000 other things. I don't know enough, so I'm not going to comment to it. Anyways, that Cookie Wars is over after like 2 years ago, I believe. And then what Crumble did really, really awesome starting last year was they started getting with content creators. So for example, like runners and fitness people to say, hey, go fit. How many you need to eat X amount of calories in order to run a marathon? Could you fit like Crumble Cookies into that diet and then like burn it off or something like that? And they started this like ASMR kind of taste test, a whole box of cookies. And so there's these like runners. I follow this one guy. I can't remember what his name is. Better Runs or something like that. We'll have to show, but he'll eat an entire box of cookies.
I hate ASMR.
And then like run it all off. Now, not all of them are ASMR, but a lot of them it's just like, there's something about the videos that you're watching, like you watch these people eat the whole thing and it's disgusting, but you're like, you feel the need to watch it.
I don't
know how to describe it because it's gross. They got cookie all over them.
Oh, I know people, I know it works.
But you're watching it.
Yeah, no.
And it's really helped Crumble take off. A lot of people are saying their franchises
we've run those ads, even though I hate them. because they work well. But
okay, there's my background to Crumble. The funny thing is
the sound of somebody chewing
is disgusting. Let's go back to Sydney, Australia. They open up a pop-up shop. People are camping out to get these cookies.
in Australia.
Sydney.
Wow.
Camping out, because I don't know, maybe there's not locations there. I don't know. So
I don't think there.
Yeah, there might not be.
Probably isn't.
Pop-up shop. They create a TikTok account. They do all this stuff. People are lined up. They're selling cookies for $17 a cookie instead of like the $5 or whatever they cost here per cookie.
Is that just like adjusted for international exchange rate?
I have no
Are
idea.
you sure? 17 Australian dollars?
They sell all of them out.
I don't know.
And then everyone starts to like review them and they're like, these are disgusting. They're stale. They tasted like they were made days ago. And people are freaking out. Turns out it wasn't a Crumble franchise. It wasn't anybody who worked for Crumble. It was fans of Crumble Cookie who flew to America, bought 700 cookies, flew back with them or shipped them back somehow.
Okay.
And sold the cookies as if they were a Crumble pop-up to make money.
Hey, good for them.
And so, yeah.
Wonder how many cookies they sold.
I think it was 700. They said they sold out.
It was 700 total cookies.
I think that's what I heard. Now, I have not done enough research, but like, what did I say? $15 a cookie?
17?
So did I say 17? 17 times 700? I mean, that's only $12,000. It's not a lot of money.
No, it's not a lot of money. It's a lot of work. Like,
so maybe it was more than that. Anyways, I just thought that was a hilarious story. And something that I'm sure Crumble Cookie will probably go after them for.
Did they use, so they used the Crumble
name and likeness
logo,
yes.
Name and likeness? Yeah. Does that apply? I mean, does that apply in Australia?
I have no idea. The moral of the story is anyone can sell anything. It's almost like it's like drop shipping, right?
It's like, well, it's just
Let's
product,
go buy this
it's
here
just
and sell it
product
over
market
here.
fit, you know?
So I guess maybe the moral of the story is Crumble Cookie founder
should probably open up
some franchises in
Australia,
Sydney, and you'll have people outside the camping out.
Australia.
Go
get that Bluey collab.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm telling you.
You got any election updates for us?
You did Bluey cookies. Every parent in the United States would go out and buy those.
Oh, 100%. That'd be a good collab. We're going to talk about collabs. If you're listening, we're going to go over a couple things. We are going to talk about collaborations today. That is going to be the main topic. So
yeah, we are.
Table that.
Well, really quick, in the world of pop culture, Lana, or is it Lana? Lana Del Rey,
I believe is what it.
Lana. That's how you say her name?
That's how I've heard other people say her name.
Oh, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Lana Del Rey. Married a gator guide.
Just a normal guy.
Just a dude chilling in the bayou.
I just heard about this morning, so I don't know anything about it.
Incredible story, actually.
Yeah.
She's got a pretty, I'd call her fan base. She's got like a cult following. The people who love her really, really love her, right?
Let's look this up.
Full disclosure, do not listen to her.
She's got 5.3 million followers on TikTok.
But hey, you know what? Shout out to that dude for shooting a shot and scoring a big time celebrity.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. Daily Mail picked it up. Lana Del Rey marries alligator tour guide.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But the business lesson in there is like you cannot go niche enough.
No.
That guy fit a niche. He was a gator guide. He is serving a pretty small addressable market. But do you know who was in his market? It was Lana Del Rey.
Lana Del Rey.
Lana Del Rey. So good job.
Good job.
Focus on what you do.
In other pop culture news, so Gap came out with a commercial. I sent you this commercial, right?
Yeah, you did.
This guy? But anyways, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this is trending big time on TikTok. And what Gap did was they just took that song. I don't know what that song's called. I just wanna party with you. That song. It's a relatively popular song.
Is it?
Yes. And they're they're like move the beat is very doom doom doom, and so like every dance move is like
house music
to that beat. And so what's happening is like TikTok has like taken it, and now everybody's recreating that dance.
Okay.
And so it's like blowing Gap's attention up, their search, their distribution. Sure enough, when you do a Google Trend search, you see Gap increasing Google Trends. And the reason why I wanted to bring this one up is like every piece of content you create is not going to go viral. But the beauty of just practicing creating content and constantly and consistently creating content is you are going to have moments where eventually people will start talking about you. And so when you're not creating content, you're just never you're never giving yourself the opportunity to earn organic distribution or borrowed distribution, which is other people talking about you. So just food for thought.
Food for my mind.
Food for your mind.
Food for thinking. Well, on the flip side of that, though, is sometimes you don't need to go viral. Ever.
No, yeah.
You know, that Gator Guide was never viral.
He is now. Are you sure he was never viral?
Of course he wasn't. He never had a viral moment until he got synced up with her. But there's a lesson in that, and this is the lesson. 20% of your customers probably make up 80 or 90% of your profits.
Yes.
So sometimes in this content creation game that we talk about, because we have people always saying, "Oh, I only have X amount of reach, or I only have this kind of engagement, or whatever it might be." Yes, you want to grow that, but you also want to make sure you're addressing the market that actually wants to buy.
Totally.
So just because you have a viral moment doesn't mean you're going to sell anything.
Yeah. And just because you only have a few likes, followers, views, doesn't mean that the right people aren't in that. Like this, for example, this podcast.
Because we see people, and I just want to point this out though. Like we've been in hundreds of Shopify accounts. We've seen a lot of different businesses, and we have watched businesses have viral moments and not seen anything from it.
Totally.
Really? Like maybe a small uptick, not much.
We just had one of our clients hit a viral moment, and they said they didn't see a single sale from it.
Yeah. Like millions of views, nothing came from it. We've seen millions of views and a lot of sales too.
Yep.
But ultimately, it just depends on your product market fit. And we've seen other people that you would be like, if you saw their Instagram profile, you might think, oh, they're not doing that great as a business. But then if you actually opened up their store, you'd say, oh my gosh, these people are crushing it.
Yeah. Well, I was going to even bring up this podcast as an example. Like, we don't get millions of downloads or even tens of thousands of downloads on our podcast every single month, but we get a good amount. But Mark and I have talked back and forth like, hey, do we need to generalize this a little bit more and make it more for the masses so that we get more downloads? Or do you keep it more meat and potato the way we've had it so that we're actually serving the type of person we want to serve,
Right.
And there's nothing better than getting a text message from somebody. Like the other day, I got a text message somebody who owns a big brand, and he's like, "Hey, your Black Friday episode, I was actually really shocked. I thought the Black Friday episode we created, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 episodes ago, was one of the best podcasts we've ever recorded, in my opinion. From like a meat and potatoes, action items. Like I thought that podcast was going to pop off and go bananas." And over the last maybe 10 episodes we've recorded, it's probably one of our least downloaded episode. And I was shocked by it. But I've gotten more DMs, text messages, LinkedIn messages, YouTube comments, whatever, about that single episode than I have in the last like 2 years of recording. So it's like,
so what do you want the podcast to be? Is it do you want to try to have these viral moments? And sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a viral moment isn't bad. It's not going to hurt you unless it's, I guess,
for the wrong reason. Yeah, it could be bad.
I mean, I'm not even convinced. Can we tell a story about a viral moment that's kind of embarrassing about some people?
I don't know. Who is it?
Well, recently there was a influencer who was on some podcasts, and her clip got cut and torn apart because she said, when you get married, the person the person you marry becomes your immediate family.
And people just have torn her apart like, well, yeah, no duh. Like that's what.
So people tore her apart, and then you could say,
now, I don't know what the context of it was. It could have been people are just clipping that like 3 or 4 second clip.
Yeah, no. Well,
so
I mean, look, it's just a gaffe.
Yeah,
it's just everyone does it. Like we do it. Like we say stupid things.
Yeah.
So this isn't to make fun of her. It's just to say a lot of people made fun of her, and they got viral making fun of her. But I'll guarantee you that it did not affect her business at all.
Yeah. We should ask her.
I guarantee you it has not.
Well, I wonder if it impacted it for better, actually.
Yeah, it could have impacted
that's what I'm actually, because I think you're probably right. There's nothing that probably happened.
Nothing negative happened to her business. Like, it was just a gaffe on a podcast. It's no big deal. I'm sure she laughed it off.
Yeah.
But it's just funny. Like, people think so much about, like, oh, what if you get made fun of, and that goes viral, but you'll often find that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Especially today and age, like people just turn the page every day.
Yeah.
Like you're old news in 24 hours.
Yeah, very true. Well, speaking of distribution, should we jump into it? This could be a good little segue. Unless you had something else you wanted to bring up. I know we're hot on election cycle, and there could be things to chat about there. Do you have anything election-wise you want to talk about?
Yeah, the only election point that I think we missed in our last conversation, which I think is just something important for your common business who is in the advertising game, is I started thinking about Donald Trump's strategy of going new media, like new age, where Kamala's going traditional.
Mm-hmm.
And I started thinking about, are they both doing that because those are the demographics that they're trying to sway?
And there's a good argument that the answer to that is yes, right? Because generally younger new age people vote Democrat left.
Yeah.
And boomers
tend to
vote more conservative. And so that very well could be.
So is he in this new age like podcasting world because that's where a lot of these...
That's where he needs to sway votes.
That's where he needs to get some votes to sway over to him?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'm thinking, the more I thought about it, I was thinking,
I feel like we did talk about that a little bit.
We did a little bit, but we didn't articulate that.
Yeah.
So the lesson there, and I think as people study the election and messaging and how to sway voters, the same thing for brands, right? Like you have target demographics that you're trying to sway over to you, and you have to meet them where they are.
Yeah, a good example of this.
Right, so like older demographics aren't listening to Lex Friedman.
Sure. Or Logan Paul or Theo Vaughn or
Yeah, like that is very much a millennial Gen Z thing.
Yep.
So just think about that.
Yeah, and on the flip side, most college students aren't watching CNN.
Well, that's the other part that I don't think we went in deep on, but nobody watches traditional news anymore. I mean, just go look at the numbers. I'm not just saying that. The numbers are down big time.
They're not just down, they're down massively.
From 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Especially from like 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So people are consuming their news on...
both right and left, by the way, media
outlets,
not just...
So people are consuming the news on X and...
TikTok
and through these new YouTube, age means. So
podcasts.
I don't know.
Well,
it's interesting. And I think this election will kind of shape political advertising and marketing
what the future
for the next
looks like.
12 years. Yeah.
Yeah, for what? Yeah, I agree. To pin this or to turn this conversation to what some brands are doing. Like one of those brands, we had a conversation with folks over at Ann Caller on the podcast last year, probably year and a half ago. And he was like, he brought up some very interesting things. So they sell pretty much just like white dress shirts.
Yeah, Benjamin.
Yep. Ben, Perkins.
And
what he found was there are very segmented audiences that buy his stuff. And one of them became, and some of those audiences, so like some of them would be like Mormon missionaries, like would buy their stuff, Jewish rabbis.
Airline pilots.
Yep. But that's the airline pilot I want to take out.
It wasn't rabbis, it was Orthodox.
Oh yeah, Orthodox Jews.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yes, there's rabbis in there,
but the pilot one was interesting because to him, he said, this is a whole new brand. Like, let's create a whole new brand based off this audience. And now they're creating content and going to places where pilots are consuming media and where they're hanging out. And that's where they're doing their marketing. And they've turned it into a 7-figure business. And so this just goes into this like, hey, when you want to enter into a new market, you've got to meet those people where they're at. And that's, for example, what Trump is doing with the new age. Is like, hey, if this is what it is, right? If your hypothesis is correct, hey, I need the younger demographic to be voting for me. Where are the younger demographic? Well, here are the top 5 podcasts of
and
people
influencers
who are 40 and under,
So the Jake Pauls, the Logan Pauls, the Nelk boys,
exactly. Theo Vaughn. Yep.
Which is even, I think, younger than me because I'm 35 and I've never watched a Logan Paul video.
Yeah, he's definitely more Gen Z for sure.
Like a younger millennial, Gen Z.
Yeah. And yeah. So I like it. But anyways,
but a way to tap into those audiences where people are can also be partnerships and collaborations.
Yeah. So one of the going back to this conversation where we had this,
which is essentially what Trump did with going on podcasts.
Yeah.
He's accessing their networks.
Yes. Yeah. So when we talked to this gentleman who won the giveaway, the consulting giveaway, we broke down like the 3 types of media that you can gain distribution from, and so really quickly, it's super easy, right? You got the paid format, which is just like buying ads, traditional ads. It could be anything, right? Anything paid. You've got the earned stuff, which is like your organic social media, your emails, your followers, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got kind of this like borrowed network, and borrowed and earned oftentimes can overlap, but I'm going to separate them just for the sake of conversation. And this borrowed one would be other people talking about you, what your customers are saying about you, what influencers or UGC creators are doing, or what partnerships and collaborations you can create. So what Mark is saying with like Trump's collaboration, for example, with like Theo Vaughn, it's like he's accessing Theo Vaughn's network. Yes, Trump's network is also doing that, but the reason why he's going on that podcast is because it's going to benefit him, and Theo Vaughn wants him on his podcast because he's also got a massive amount of followers. So,
right.
So today we want to just talk about collaborations and collaborating. This is oftentimes we have this conversation with brands all the time to say, hey, how can you get distribution, right? We had a podcast, I think a while ago, where we talked about the 4 different ways that you can get more revenue. 1 was traffic, so distribution. 2 was increasing your conversion rate. 3 was increasing your AOV, and 4 was increasing your returning customer rate. Those are the 4 ways to gain more revenue. And so when we take that number 1, distribution, there are several different ways that you can get more distribution. Collaborating is one of these things that a lot of people miss because...
Well, let's break down traffic really quick. In traffic, you have organic traffic. So this is, in the SEO days, this is people finding your blogs or, people who already know about you who are coming to your website.
People who see you from your social media.
But now you have subcategories of organic, which would be social. So you have earned social visitors or engagers, and that's traffic that will turn into sales eventually or immediately. And then you have so you have the organic side, and then you have the paid side.
Yep.
And in paid, it used to be just paid search and paid Google stuff or display advertising, but now it's all paid
Billboards,
social.
Yep.
So you have the paid social side, which is the most tried and true and formulaic way to increase traffic. It just is. And it's always going to be...
And it's predictable.
it's always going to be one of the best ways to increase it. Yes, it's not as easy as it used to be, but it will be the best way to do it. So like those are your two ways. And so your third way is, in the past, it used to be referrals. So like referral networks on Google would have been, hey, I'm working with like a blog and they're linking to me. So like blogs are linking to me. I'm working with these like old
Affiliate
influencers,
kind of
these
stuff,
bloggers. That turned into social media people, which so now you have referrals coming from social that might not be coming from your page, but others.
And that's like Mark's referring to like the referrals, like that's the category in Google Analytics.
In analytics.
Right? Yep, it categorized. So anytime somebody goes from one domain to your domain, that's deemed as referral traffic.
So from social referrals are now like Linktree or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Like to Know It, I meant.
Yeah.
Like to Know It or whatever. Yeah. And then you have partnerships, which is a part of this like referral, right? Like network, but partnerships are bigger and better because it crosses all of those thresholds. So when you do a partnership well, it's going to increase your ads, it's going to increase your organic because you're going to tap into other networks, but also your network will become more engaged as well.
Yep.
Okay, and then you're also just going to get the referral traffic from that other brand too.
Yeah.
So it really is a great way to be a multiplying force for every category of your traffic.
Totally. And some of those to tap into a little bit more of those benefits, there's 4 different, and there's probably more, but in my head, there's about 4 different reasons you do these partnerships, right? One is all of them hopefully will increase sales, right? That's your goal with a lot of these partnerships, okay? But there's these sub goals that are going to help you get to those sales. One is just like, there can and will be immediate direct sales from stuff like this. And we're going to share some examples of like, hey, this was a collaboration, a partnership that immediately rose revenue for both brands or this specific brand. So you have immediate revenue. The second one is just brand recognition. So being able to team up with somebody that may not sell a whole ton of product for you, but being associated with that brand, company, whatever, lifts your presence from a social proof perspective to say, hey, wow, I didn't realize Bestie was working with Nike. They must be bigger than I thought they were. Or that's impressive to me. I want to look into that more, okay? You've got the...
we are not working with Nike, but...
Maybe we will one day.
But we will one day, yeah.
Yeah. Then you've got the content side of things. Like you're just going to be able to get other content that then you can use for your ads.
Yeah, you're going to get content that you can create ads with, but then also with a good partnership, you'll also have, partnership ads that tap into them. So
their distribution out. Yep, that's the 4th thing. That
you can even share audiences.
Yeah, exactly. So like the other thing that goes that creating content kind of goes into your brand thing. Sometimes we've worked with brands where they'll do a collaboration, and we're going to share a couple of these where they'll do a collaboration that doesn't necessarily sell a lot of that product, but it gets people so interested. Once again, Bestie times Nike, whatever. Oh, I'm interested in that. I'm not going to actually buy the Bestie Nike gear, but Bestie has all these other things here. I want to go buy these things. Mm-hmm. So it gets them, it hooks them to the site, brings them in, and drives revenue, but maybe it wasn't direct revenue from that partnership.
Yes. Yeah, good examples of that are sometimes you'll see brands do Disney collabs.
Yep.
That, let's just say the brand isn't necessarily like a kid item. It's usually more of like an adult type item. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's adults that like Disney stuff, but the amount of adults that will buy a purely Disney thing for everyday use is much smaller than a child.
Sure.
Like, or a parent buying it for a kid.
For sure.
So you'll see a lot of times those types of businesses, they'll do a Disney collab. It doesn't sell a crazy...
A ton of that like Disney merch.
Yeah, it doesn't sell a lot. It doesn't really boost their sales in that category, but those ads perform really well because people see Disney. That's a recognizable name. Yep. They'll click on it and then they'll go to your site.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about some from a direct revenue perspective, like some that we've experienced, that we've seen, or maybe we've talked to other people who have told us about it. there was one. So Mark and I were on the when we were on the brand side, we were working with this company called Fawn Design, which was a women's diaper bag company, and they had released a duffel bag that was kind of like a weekender style bag, and started to find out that a lot of moms, because this was a very motherhood company, the bag was built for weekend getaways, but moms started using it for their hospital bag.
Yeah.
Like that's not what it was built for, but it became that, right?
Yeah, and Jenny, the founder, did a good job of doing these collaborations really early on. Like she was doing these partnership collabs, I mean, way back in like 2016, 2015.
Within a year or two of her just getting started, right? And this was one.
And originally it was with Kara, right?
4 or 5 years later. But yeah, they did this one with Kara Loren, who's a big influencer. And she, at the time, the relevancy here was she was pregnant. So she was pregnant. So she got with Kara and said, hey, you're an influencer. You want to make money. I want to make money. What if you take our silhouette, so this bag, but you design it in a colorway that you'd like? And what if we create the ultimate hospital like bundle? And they took a product that was $200 and with a bundle made it like $300. And the partnership there was, hey, we get to tap into her distribution from a selling perspective, but we also, there's got to be something we got to provide her value. So we created a contract with her that was, hey, we're going to give you X amount of profits from this deal. You know, and I've seen those anywhere as low as 5%, and I've seen them as high as 30%. Where, hey, like, you know, if we made $30,000 total, or let's call it $100,000, and you know, 50,000 of that was profits, then
we've also seen people do revenue or profit.
Yeah. Then let's take let's take 10% of that and give it over to these guys. So. That's one way we've seen these direct sales. We also saw one with a really cool brand, Standard Issues. They did one where they collaborated with the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah,
they actually did a few Philadelphia brands.
Yeah, they have roots in Philadelphia. Yeah. They're an LA based brand, but one of their founders, his roots are based out of LA. He's a big skater out, or not LA, Philly. And they got a collaboration, and
shout out to Jimmy.
Yeah, they got a collaboration with the Philadelphia Eagles. And if I remember, I'm blanking on the famous Bryce Harper from the Philadelphia Phillies, the baseball team. He was spotted wearing all their gear, like wearing their collaboration at an Eagles game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it just blew up, and it was an awesome direct revenue stream. It was a capsule, so it wasn't something that they kept on their website for ever, but they launched it kind of mid football season, made a good amount of money.
Feet Clothing's
done a lot of those.
And I think what we've seen in the collaboration partnership space, whatever you want to call this, it's very rarely an evergreen item that's going to be a main product for you. It's going to be something that goes up and down. And the brands that I've seen do this so well know that. So they know that it's like, hey, we're going to do these limited capsule drops. It pushes a lot of traffic. It gets more distribution. It gives you retargeting audiences. It increases your email list.
It gives you new customers, then become returning customers. Yeah.
Like the Standard Issue example, like you had a lot of Philadelphia sports fans buying this stuff that aren't necessarily, they weren't Standard Issue people.
Yeah, weren't necessarily on their radar.
But now they are. So you captured this whole new audience of people that were coming just for one particular thing. And now you get to multiply that and increase that share of wallet. So the best, in my opinion, don't expect this to be, we're going to launch a Disney
and make hundreds of thousands
collab.
Of dollars.
We're going to pay Disney whatever it is their minimum is for the minimum order quantity.
Yeah.
Let's say we get the Disney licensing agreement. We're going to launch Disney. If you're a kids brand, maybe that could be one of your biggest selling for a long time. But oftentimes you'll just see like ebbs and flows, right? Especially like with kids brands, even because like kids brands and shows go through ebbs and flows. Like Bluey's the biggest brand, show.
Yep.
It's So if you got a Bluey collab as a kids brand, it's probably going to crush it. But for how long?
Yeah.
Maybe Bluey's riding a 2-year high. Maybe it's going to be 6 years.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not even that, like you're saying. I like the point you're bringing, which is
so you got to plan these out.
Yeah, these partnerships and collaborations aren't necessarily meant to. Okay, if I'm $1 million brand, I did this one collaboration with this influencer or with this brand, and therefore I became a $2 million brand. That's not what these things are meant to do. They're not meant to have one that then takes you off. Now, sometimes that can happen, right? You could, as a kids clothing brand, launch a Disney collection, and it could be the catalyst from taking you from $5 million to $10 million. Like that stuff does happen. We've seen it happen, but not all the time, right? So,
well, it can and it does happen, but it's not going to be the thing that keeps you there.
For sure. Yep, exactly.
So it might get you to the next step, but just know that like it has a ticking time bomb too. Like it's a
sure.
This is a wave that you ride that helps you get to the next point.
Yeah.
But if you expect that wave to just keep producing over and over again, it's not going to happen. So the best brands know, like, hey, we're going to launch these things in this sequential order.
Yeah.
So they always have one cooking. It's not done out of desperation.
Totally. That's the key right there. Is there's always something cooking. There's a brand that I love watching do this. I think he's been a master at it. But we also had him on the podcast. It was Tommy Higgum, Lola Blankets. So they've always got a collaboration in cooks, like whether it's with a brand or whether it's with influencers. If you go look at their Instagram or their website, right now they probably have 2 or 3 live collaborations. But at any given time, I guarantee you, if I were to call him right now and ask him, hey, how many collaborations are you working on right now? Maybe they haven't launched. I bet.
And by working on doesn't mean they're all going to go through either.
Yeah.
Because he explained on the podcast that sometimes
it doesn't
for whatever
work out.
reason it's just not a good fit. But he's actively working with, I'm sure, 5 to 10 people at a time.
His team is talking to people constantly. Hey, can we create a blanket together? Hey, can we create something together? So that you build kind of this what's the compound effect on collaboration on top of collaboration on top of collaboration. So I think that's a good let's segue into there's not all collaborations are going to drive direct revenue. Those are some of the ones that will, right?
Yep.
When you're doing these product focus where you're splitting revenue, maybe giving people shared revenue costs, shared revenue profits. But the other brand that does collaborations really well.
Are we going to say who they just collabed with?
Oh yeah, you can.
Because I think it's a good case study for some of you people who are thinking about it. Is go check out Lola Blankets, and they just collabed with the influencer Teza.
Yep.
Right, and I think that dropped last week.
Yeah, and he and also I follow him personally on his stories. He said that was something he's been working on for like 18 months, I think. Like it was a big number. Like so some of these collaborations can happen very, very quickly, but most of the time they're going to be 3 to 12 months. Like it's going to take some time to do these things. 3 is actually really quick.
And what's awesome about that collab is, again, for a brand, we know that getting reach and distribution can be a struggle. They have 75,000 followers, 74,000.
Yep.
Where Teza has 1.3, I believe.
Yep.
So just think about that huge distribution they got. And maybe not all those followers of Teza are going to come purchase right now.
Yeah.
But they now know who you are.
Totally.
Where before they probably didn't.
Yep. Other examples of these like little drops are like bigger brands. So if you've ever heard of Kith does this stuff all the time. Kith's like a, they're kind of like a more high-end Supreme, just like more elegant streetwear fashion. They're
just a higher fashion brand.
Yeah, someone who listens to that is probably like, that is not the way you should describe them. But like they did a collaboration with Wilson.
We are not in the fashion space.
Yeah, like they did a collaboration with Wilson, like a tennis collab. They did a collaboration with Jerry Seinfeld, which seems very just like interesting, but it was all based around New York. Like everything was New York. So it was like a New York Mets hat. It was a Bronx sweater. It was everything was New York themed. And it's these things that aren't necessarily going to drive tons and tons of revenue for them, but it just brings this distribution. It brings this talking point. It's content that's worth engaging. I remember when I saw the Jerry Seinfeld, I had zero desire to buy any of it, but I just was like, I have to see what this is all about. Like that, I would have never thought that Kith and Jerry Seinfeld would do a collaboration together. So,
yeah, and it was pretty good.
It was awesome. In fact, I actually wanted to buy some of the stuff.
Very New York.
Like the stuff was very cool. So yeah, you've got these one-off capsules
and a quick update. That Tezza collection did sell out.
Did it? Yeah. So
it's been less than a week, sold out.
So you
congratulations to Lola Blankets.
You got these drops that are going to bring this incremental revenue, and I'm guessing that Lola Blankets in the next 1 to 3 months has another collaboration that's going to drop. That's going to do something very, very similar based on his experience and research. So another brand that's like really good at collaborations, and they do these collaborations less to make money and more so to drive awareness and social impressions. And if anyone's paid attention to what Liquid Death does, they do this it's a masterclass in just the most outrageous, wild collaborations. I think one of the most recent ones that I saw was a collaboration between, I think one of the most famous ones, well, I'll say this, I'll start with the most famous one, which was a collaboration with Travis Barker, the drummer from Blink-182.
That's right.
And Liquid Death, and it was called the Enema of the State. And I think they sold like 100 Enema packages where the water was Liquid Death water. And it was like this brilliant packaging of people buying a Liquid Death Enema. And the video is just so funny. The content, it's just so outrageous and so wild. That video, if you go look at YouTube, I guarantee it's got over 1 million views on it. And they were, I can't imagine they sold those kits for more than $75. So a company like Liquid Death that sells something for $75 and, only makes 100 of them, they're not making a lot of money, but the purpose is it's just a way to drive awareness. Another one that they did was did you see the collaboration between, and we'll have to be like, we'll stitch some of these like videos as I'm talking, but they did a collaboration with Yeti Cooler. Did you see this one?
I did not see that one.
The Yeti Cooler is they created a Yeti coffin cooler. So it's the size of a coffin, but it's a cooler. And they are only selling one of them, and they did it in an auction-based format, like eBay.
That's right. Okay, yeah, I remember the
yes. Yeah. So it's just like, and it's
the casket.
Yeah, because it's like they're I think one of their taglines is "Murder Your Thirst" or something like that.
Yeah, it is.
Or something. Yeah. So just like everything ties in really, really well. They did one with Bad Birdie recently. I thought that one was hilarious. That one is a video of, if anyone golfs, Bad Birdie is a golf company. And they're a more out there kind of like outrageous company the way Liquid Death is. But if anyone knows anything about golfing, especially if you're a guy, when you have to pee, you oftentimes don't go pee in the bathroom. Like you just go in the woods because there's a lot of trees and it's really easy to be secretive. But they created a product where it's a putter, I believe, or a golf club that is like a funnel to your pee and a golf towel. So like the golf towel covers you up. So the whole video is a joke about how you can pee in front of your friends, but you're covered up because everyone thinks it's just the golf club that's right there and they don't know you're peeing, So it's just these outrageous, wild videos that's not meant to make.
Do we know what the sales figures on those are?
They're probably next to nothing because those products are $40 and they make 100 of them.
Yeah, they're just trying to stay top of mind at this point.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're not trying to make money from these collaborations. Now, once again, remember how I talked about it in the beginning? It's like, hey, you've got ones that have direct revenue, direct sales, like this Tezza, like this Cara Loren stuff that's going on, like the Philadelphia Eagles collaboration. But these collaborations aren't meant to drive immediate revenue. Those collaborations are meant to drive distribution, which will eventually drive revenue.
Right. Yeah.
Indirect revenue.
Yeah, where going back to bigger initiatives, which are great as you're entering more of the 8 to 9 figure space as a company.
Yeah.
Alex MacArthur talks about that. We're going to always repeat that line, which is sales follow search.
Yeah.
And that's what these bigger companies understand. I mean, there's a reason why Nike and Adidas still spend as much money as they do on advertising and essentially what we're talking about, collabs.
Yeah.
Like they sign athletes for a reason. Like that's a collab. They have collaboration shoes and they launch products with these athletes. And that's just an easy example just to wrap your mind around it, which is this isn't anything new. It's just different channels. Like this is how companies have made this work since the 60s.
Yeah, a company like Liquid Death is thinking to themselves, okay, they probably spend hundreds of millions of dollars in advertising. I shouldn't say hundreds, but
I don't know, but I'm sure it's
tens of millions of dollars a year on advertising.
Although they did just say they have an in-house content team.
Oh, do they?
I know they save a lot of money there.
Yeah, but I mean,
they say their productions are really low.
Yeah.
Budget.
Yeah, they might be. I wouldn't be surprised.
But nonetheless.
But the point I'm trying to make is they can say, okay, cool. What if we create this outrageous, we could either put $5 million into increasing our awareness budget in Meta, or we can create this outrageous video with Travis Barker and just do something completely hilarious and unhinged and see if we can get 10 to 30 million views on that. And then let's put some money into retargeting, or they know that those people aren't just going to buy on the .com, but they're going to go buy.
Yeah, their distribution is totally different.
Yeah, their grocery
wholesale
stores, whatever. So,
yeah, and that's a good point. So, but this goes back to one of the topics of our Black Friday podcast, which is like just know what your baselines are and then project. So, like if you're going to run these initiatives with a collaboration or a partnership with a brand or an influencer or whoever, you just have to realize, hey, this is what we've done in previous drops. So let's try it. Let's test it. What's our baseline of acceptable profits or distribution or whatever you want to deem it?
Yeah.
Hey, how do we reach 100,000 extra people? How do we get X amount of sales? Write those down, figure it out, and then launch it, figure out what you actually get, and then you'll understand how it's impacting your business. Because
totally,
they're not always a home run.
Yeah.
Like any initiative that we bring up here, you're not going to get it the first time. Well, you might, but if you don't, that doesn't mean it's a failure. If you don't learn from it, then it's a failure. But just understand, hey, how do we measure what success actually is? And then you can analyze what went wrong or what went right.
Yeah. Yeah. So awesome opportunities. I love that we got to talk to that gentleman yesterday, because I just don't think we don't talk about collaborations very often. We're an ad agency, so we talk about getting the right kind of content for ads a lot, and how that's a very, not easy, but a very predictable channel. And
well, that's the world we know.
Yeah.
And it's, again, the reason why ads are always going to be like the evergreen pillar of those three distribution channels is because it's predictable. You can iterate very quickly in an ad. Like you can't, once you launch a collaboration, like you can't.
Yeah, you can run ads to that.
You can iterate on the ads, but
sure.
you can't iterate, like once the product's there, the product's there.
Yeah, you're not going to, and maybe you can, depending on how evergreen it is, you might be able to update the product in time. But yeah, you're right. Like,
it's
once it's out there,
slower.
it's out there. Yeah.
It's slower, bigger initiatives where ads are fast and quick, and you can test and you can get through these essentially it's easier to find success through testing in ads than it would be in like a collaboration space.
Yeah.
But everybody's trying to lower costs, and the best way to lower costs even for ads is if you get more organic distribution or referral traffic through collaborations, partnerships.
Yeah, for sure.
Because again, like we said, if you want to focus on something that will amplify your ads and amplify your organic, it's going to be the collaboration space, because that's going to be a crossover of all of them.
Yeah.
Gives you content for ads, gives you partnership posts for organic, referral traffic,
revenue.
translates to revenue, gets you more direct traffic,
get you more subscribers, get you more followers. It's an undertap. I think people look at it and think it's hard. Like there's a lot of work to that.
And there is work.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's as daunting as some people think it is.
And you can start lower, right? Like if you're a brand right now that's listening that you're like, guys, I'm only making $30,000 a month.
Oh, really quick before we wrap this up. The other reason why we wanted to talk about this, and we haven't even talked about it yet, is we consult with a company that has a subscription-based business where they have 10x'd where they were in 1 year.
Yeah.
But last year, they had 1 month that was out of control.
Yes.
And in the data, originally when we were consulting, it was just kind of like, oh yeah, like this was an influencer that posted about us.
Right,
and
that's right.
Like, don't worry.
It was
like
kind of like one off, like, oh yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Like that's just one crazy month. Like that never happens.
Yeah, that's right.
And we didn't put much thought. But then when we did a deeper, strategy session with these people, these owners who are great and they're doing so many great things, like that 10x isn't, just us. Like they're doing a lot of great things.
You can't 10x a brand if they don't have an amazing product.
Yeah, they're doing awesome things on their side.
Yep, they have an unreal product.
We looked at it and said, well, what happened? Oh, we launched this collaboration with this one influencer.
Yeah, like where they created this part of this subscription box that, like,
it wasn't even a big influencer, but man, it crushed it.
And it was funny because we were talking about them doing those things, but they're like, oh, we've done this before. And we're like, that was
a collaboration. I just thought it was an influencer randomly posted. Yeah. And so that month though, that they did it, like just to put this whole idea into perspective, that month that they did it is now what they're doing every month now.
Right.
But they did it back then with just one easy collaboration product.
Yeah.
That was not a big lift on their part.
No. At least it didn't seem like it was when they talked to us. Yeah.
But they just like figured that was a one-off that wasn't replicable.
Yep.
But it is.
And now what we're doing.
So now it's like, okay, how do we plan 5 of those every year? How do you work with these people only to continue to get to the next step? But it was funny.
Continue to increase your ad spend.
Yeah.
To just, because everything just compounds on top of
each
other.
Wait, that was a collaboration? Oh yeah, that was a collaboration. I was like, oh my gosh, we should have dug deeper into that one-off. But we thought it was just an influencer posted and they got lucky 1 month. Yeah. But nothing's lucky. Like luck doesn't exist. And so it does a little bit, but
it's just like
nonetheless.
Yeah, like luck is exacerbated through hard work.
Yes.
Right? The harder you work,
leveraged.
Yeah, the more
positioned luck.
The more shots you shoot, the luckier you are going to get.
So
in life. So
nonetheless, that's another reason why we wanted to talk about collaborations is we saw this company. We did a big strategy session with them last month. Mm-hmm. And discovered that little outlier again and dug deeper. That's a collaboration.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you guys did.
Let's identify 7 more people you can do that with in 2025.
That month did 10x what your normal month was in that year.
Yeah.
So imagine now what it could do if you were continually putting those into play every other month, every 3 months, every quarter, whatever.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
It's exciting for them.
Well, that's it. That's all I have to say about collaborations.
Yeah, that's it.
Do it. Like I said, easy. They're not crazy. Couple like just words of wisdom is like, as you're reaching out to these people, if you're a smaller company, like you got to figure out a way to benefit the people or brands you're reaching out to. So if you're smaller and you're wanting to work with somebody who's bigger than you, maybe you're giving a bigger rev share than you would, right? Like if you normally are going to give 10%, maybe you're giving 25%. Mm-hmm. So understand that you've got to compromise. And
also, don't be shy to go 10x followers of what you have.
Yeah, because sometimes, especially if somebody likes your product or your mission or your brand, like there are people all the time who work with so much smaller brands just because they love it.
Yep.
Yeah, so don't be afraid.
So if you got 1,000 followers, don't be afraid to reach out to a 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, and just step your way up.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to think just because you're a small brand, you can't reach out to a big one. Like Lola Blankets, they have 75,000 followers. And I'm using this as kind of a gauge because I know a lot of founders do this. They look at these social media profiles and go, oh, like they're huge.
They're too big for me.
I only have 20,000 followers. Like that's not very big. It's like, well, followers aren't what they used to be.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so some people are stuck in this 2016 mindset of when followers meant everything. But Tezza and Lola Blankets, Tezza has 1.3 million. Lola only has 75,000.
Yeah.
Like you can collab with bigger people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Fawn Design at the time was like 300,000.
Just like the Gator Guide.
2 million with Kara. So
the Gator Guide.
The Gator Guide.
The Gator Guide just collabed with someone with 5 million followers for life.
I'm going to find out if he actually ever went viral. Because she had to have met him somehow.
Yeah, she met him on Gator Guides.
Maybe. That would be... I don't know anything about the story. So that would make the story even cooler. Is if she literally was just like going on a Gator Guide.
I don't know
like, hey, this guy's really handsome and
more
funny.
Than the rumor mill on X, but she just met the dude doing Bayou stuff. Like, I guess she's a...
I hope that's true.
Is she a Southern... She's a Southern girl?
I have no idea.
How do you say her name again?
Lana Del Rey.
Lana Del Rey. Yeah.
Well, cheers to the Gator Guide.
So to wrap this whole thing up, shoot your shot with your collabs.
That's it.
The Gator Guide got Lana.
Yeah. Maybe. I wonder if he shot his shot or if she shot hers.
You never know. Maybe he had a great product, clearly.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining in, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Unstoppable Marketer podcast. Please go rate and subscribe the podcast, whether it's good or bad. We want to hear from you because we always want to make this podcast better. If you want to get in touch with me or give me any direct feedback, please go follow me and get in touch with me. I am at the Trevor Crump on both Instagram and TikTok. Thank you, and we will see you next week.